All right, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so we are off. And you can tell right away, this is gonna be a fast-paced game. And this game is basically all about rocket jumping, as you can see right away. Kind of how this game is gonna work is that we're playing through 7 different worlds. We're gonna beat 9 stages and then a boss stage, using our trusty rocket launcher to move around. There aren't really any enemies in this game, so this rocket launcher is purely for movement, and you can't even jump. So if you see me in the air, it's because I'm using my rocket launcher. So just a little bit on how the movement works. If you look in the top left corner, we have this little dash gauge. That gives you an 8-directional dash, and basically other than that, you use your rocket launcher to move around. You can move left to right. You have full air control. And yeah, that's kind of all there is to it. But it may sound a little simple, but there's a lot that goes into the movement for this game. So if you look kind of the levels, if you look, it kind of looks like they're kind of mixed together. Every time I hit one of these blue portals is the end of a level, but they do kind of, they blend continuously within a world. And now we're moving into the boss stage. So the boss stages are a little different. They are actually just kind of normal levels, except they have a little bit of a twist where you have some sort of boss chasing you or trying to kill you in some way, shape, or form. And you actually can finally use your rocket launcher to disarm them for a little bit of time. Not that I need to for most of these. So now we're moving on into World 2. And every world kind of has its own theme. This theme is lasers, as you see. Stand on one of these a little too long, you get lasered in the face. Should know right now, it's really easy to die in this game. Probably gonna die a lot. We'll see how it goes. Ooh, got that first try. So yeah, this is basically lasers and crushers and typical mine stuff you'll see. I do kind of want to give a disclaimer right now. This game is really fast-paced, and there is a lot to talk about, and I don't have time to do that. So I'm kind of just going to talk about what I think is interesting, which could be the levels, can be the movement, whatever. But we are kind of making our way through. If you look, a lot of these levels, I'm kind of going on top of. Some I'm going through intended routes. There's a really big mix of how you're completing these levels, which is a lot of fun. But you have to be careful. So like right there are some camera changes that can happen that can block you off from being able to go in certain spots. And just kind of generally, it's not very clear whether you're going to be able to break a level. Just whether whether you're looking at it, you kind of just have to try it and see what happens. Oops. So now we're hanging out with our good buddy Fantoon. Fantoon grew some extra legs, but we're still gonna take him down. That's a really fun level. I really enjoy this whole world. There's a lot of like interior places you can get a lot of speed. So now we're moving on to the sewers. And here I kind of want to start talking about the movement a little more in depth, because I think that's really the core of this game and how it shines. So if you look, I try to keep myself in the air a lot, and that is specifically because when you're on the ground, you go really slowly and you stick to it, and it's really hard to move. And what we're doing in this world is all of this purple ground is actually just slippery. And so you can slide right along it, which means that this is basically the most fast-paced world you can have, and you're just slipping, sliding around, and it's great. But kind of for movement in general, what you're looking for is to just gain and retain momentum as much as humanly possible, which can usually mean just firing a lot of rockets in quick succession to accelerate as much as you can. And you could do that on walls, ceilings, floors, really anywhere you think you can shoot. Something that's kind of important to note is that if you look, a lot of this like stuff that looks like it's going to kill you because it's neon green, it kills you. And you actually can't have rockets connect with that green surface. There are some things that can kill you that rockets can connect with, but it's not entirely apparent. But yeah, mostly what we're looking for is to just retain as much momentum as we can and use our dash to augment that. That's kind of the best way to get vertical momentum in this game, is to use your dash along with shooting against a wall like this. And now we're on the boss stage, and this is a really fun level because you kind of just blast your way up. It's a really, really great level. So now we're moving on into the slums. And this world is chaos. You have slums falling apart, you got debris all over, you got the world falling on top of you, and it is generally a really, really difficult world. A lot of like those small debris and stuff that you were seeing a second ago is, as far as I know, RNG, but these big objects you see falling from the sky are just cycle-based. That doesn't mean they're not deadly. It's hard to kind of tell where you are on a cycle sometimes, but you can do your best. So, let's see if we can get this skip. All right, nice. It's pretty difficult. There are a bunch of different ways to do a lot of these levels. As you can kind of assume, like ILs for this game are really, really, really optimizable. So there's tons of different ways to go through these levels, which is something that's really interesting about this game. You can kind of tailor your strats to how difficult you want it to be. Oop. Uh-oh. Thankfully, I do have a bunch of backup strats like there, even though I screwed it up. Then we got a big skip right here. This one's pretty difficult. All right, through there. Whoa. Oops. Yeah, it's really easy to kind of just lose your composure, miss a single shot, all of a sudden, you're dead. It's really not uncommon for you to just completely forget how to do a really easy section of a level and just lose a minute there. Hopefully that doesn't happen though. Try to hold it together. Alright, cool. So I actually go around the outside of the level, not because it's a lot faster, but because it's easier. When I go into the right there, it's the level starts falling apart, and it's actually a really, really difficult part. Alright, so this boss is really rude, and if he feels like it, he can just murder me, but we'll see what happens. So he's shooting these homing rockets now, and if one of those connects with you, you're just dead, and I found that out a week ago when it just happened. Never been hit by it before. And what can actually happen is when you're jumping over him right there, you can fire one directly up into you. It's distressing, to say the least. Oops. All right, so we're onto the factory. This level has these anti-gravity zones that you see right here. You just use your rocket to basically maneuver in them. They're pretty cool areas. And what I really, really like about this area is that most of the levels are really confined, which means you have tons of different surfaces to get speed off of. Missed a cycle here, but that's all right. But yeah, just generally, this is a really fun world to do. Try not to die. And there's quite a few skips in this, just kind of going over stuff. Basically not going where they intended me to go, but that's fine. Who cares what the developers want? Right. Yeah. So a lot of these levels are pretty difficult to get outside the levels, and ooh, hoo, hoo. Yeah, like I said, one missed shot and you're just dead. That's a fun level right here. see if we can, yep. All right, so if you look at like the anti-grav sections, you can actually use your dash to align yourself a lot. That's really, really helpful to do like precise things in those anti-grav areas. Other than that, like using your rocket launcher is just really tough. Okay, so this boss, we're just doing a little race over here. He's taking the top path, I'm taking the bottom half. Thankfully, he's not very fast, because if he beats me to any section, then I die. He slams one of these gates on my head. Alright, so second to last world, this is Metropolis. Here we have some of these breakable green, breakable green platforms, as well as these orbs that either suck or push you away. And this is kind of a huge contrast from the previous world, because you see that like it's super wide and spread out, and there's just not a lot of surfaces to shoot rockets at. So going fast in this world is actually not too exciting. You kind of do what you can, but a lot of the time you're kind of just flying through the air like this at a slow pace. And these balls that are pushing gravity away, you can hit them with rockets, but it's really difficult, because if you look like right there, see how they push your rockets away? They don't just move you, they move everything. So you have to get very close to them to actually successfully hit one. Oh my, I went too fast. That's hard to die there. Oh my god. Yep. This is what happens. Just death spiral out of control. Lose your composure for a second. Alright. So this world does have some really cool levels. I really like the parts you just saw a second ago where you have pillars coming down the left and right sides. I think those are pretty fun. You see some extreme parts of that coming up. And then you have this level. And nothing really feels right in this level. I'm convinced an intern made it or something. But hopefully we can get through. Use my patented strat of shoving myself in that corner there so I don't go too fast and die. Alright. So this level is really cool, and probably the most difficult level in the game. Not just to do fast, but even casually. But we're out of there. And if you look in the top right corner, that's the that's the best time I've ever gotten in some of these worlds. So while dying a lot loses a lot of time, it's the nice thing about this game is the deaths are quick. You can kind of pull yourself back together. So now we're killing the stupid snake. We are out of Metropolis, heading into the final world, which actually only has 5 stages and then a boss. This is a pretty short world, followed by a really long boss. So we'll see how it goes. Here we finally have some enemies. We have these eyes that shoot laser beams at you and basically just track you. You can shoot them and stun them like I'm going to do right here. But it's kind of surprising they're really the only enemy in this whole game. I guess they saved the enemies for the end of the game. And you see the final boss looming in the background over there. Oh. Oh. Okay, there we go. So let's head on in there. So this is a really long boss. If you die anywhere, you're losing a lot of time. So hopefully we can get through. What we're going to be doing is destroying these pylons on each side, and then heading over to here, jumping on his head, giving him a little boop, and then moving up a floor. And yes, if you screw anything up, you redo this whole thing. Thankfully, some of these are cycle-based. You can make an earlier cycle than this, but it's pretty difficult and actually really scary because you're going to die and lose, 30 seconds if you do. right, so we're making our final ascent here. And then we are going to stop this slow-mo and time. All right. And that's the end of the game.
That was nuts. That was insane.
Yeah.